Welcome back to the bus, everyone. Now the next job here is to prepare for the roof raise. So I've got a lot of rivets to remove. I need to remove the upper row going across this top rub rail. So when it comes time to slide the new sheet metal in, I can do that and then put the rivets back in place. I need to take off all of these trim strips in between the windows since they're all going away. I need to remove at least the bottom row across the top above the windows there, potentially both of them. And then back here, I need to remove that row of rivets up over the windows and the door in order to clear the rear section. My plan is to do a partial roof raise, so I'm going to do graduated. I plan on cutting the roof up in here somewhere and then angling it down, leaving this front portion alone. So I don't have to worry about cutting the rivets loose over the side window or the windshield. But I figure I'm going to do some practice on these sections because I know I don't need any of them. So I've seen a lot of ways to do this, and we'll see what I can come up with. I think, yes, I could use just the air hammer with the flat blade on the end of it. I know I've seen some people who take this and remove the head of the rivet this way. I might try that just to see if it's at all easy to do, but I'm guessing it's not. I also figure the problem with that is I may damage the material underneath it. I don't want to be fighting this forever. I have seen a couple of people who cut a cross in it using a cutoff wheel on an angle grinder like this one, and then hit it with the air hammer to knock the head off. And then once they had the head off, they used, I think it was an air nailer or some kind of a device. Let me see, I think I bought one of these. Never used it before though. This thing. So I don't know if this will work. It seemed to work pretty well in the YouTube videos. I guess we'll find out. So this is a punch nailer. So I don't know, because from what I can tell, you're supposed to put a nail either on the end of it or something like that. So I don't even know how to use this. But I did see it on a video, and it seemed to work pretty well. So the way they did it, they cut a cross in the head, just cut them all, and then ran the flat blade of the air hammer across everything, just knocking everything off of here. And then they used that punch to pop the rivet back through. So, let me get started, and we'll see what we can come up with. Glad I'm doing some practice here. Obviously, I need to do a little practice before I have trouble with it. I could use a welder to cover up some of this stuff, but these pieces don't matter. I'm not going to be reusing them anyway. So, let's try the air hammer on it, see what happens. Well, that's not ideal. So you can see here where I overcut, there and there. Down here, I got that off with minimal damage. And considering the fact that this section is going to be gone anyway, I don't really care. What I'm worried about is up here. So these have to go, these have to go, this lower ridge needs to go. So I need to figure out how to do this without damaging the material underneath. I suppose I could try drilling them out, but I don't love that either. So, we got 2 ready to go. That's 12 rivets done. Granted, it's still taking a while, so we'll see. Well, check this out. Got the heads off of all these rivets. I still need to do the rub rail, but we're getting there. All the way down this side. See, as we get back toward the back here, I've punched some of the rivets through, so I still need to do that on the rest. But I'm going to get going on the back here. This section's out of the wind, and I've got a big line of rivets to deal with back here. So let's get going. At the moment, I was able to get all of these heads removed. However, unlike the rivets on the sides, trying to use the air hammer with a punch bit on it just isn't working in this case, so I'm going to have to drill these out individually. Thankfully, I bought a whole lot of drill bits. So, I'm going to take a look at these. I need a little bit over 1/4 inch in size, so that's what I bought a whole bunch of. I'm just going to start drilling a few of these and just see what happens. If it turns out that they're too difficult to do, then I may just have to mark them and start drilling my way up from the underside. I can also, if necessary, just pop this loose. There's some kind of a sealant underneath, but I can get the flat blade up underneath here to separate this from the underlying framework. And then when this whole thing raises up, I should be able to get in underneath it and clean up the frame. So we'll see how that goes, but for now I'm going to try doing some drilling. Well, check it out. On the side here, these are coming out really nicely. The air hammer's taking them all out, no problem. So I've still got the front portion there to do. And I've set up my little mini scaffold up here so I can start taking the rivets out of the top of this rub rail. So when I replace these windows, I'll be taking out the center trim strips here, and I'm putting sheet metal in their place. So I'm going to put it down behind the top of the rub rail here and then slide it up underneath that first line of rivets on top up there. So that's why I'm taking all these out. By rights, I wouldn't have to do anywhere near this much if I was just doing a roof raise and keeping the windows. I'd probably want to take out the trim strips, but then I could get away with probably just taking these 2 rivets at the bottom of each trim and then 2 or 4 rivets at the top of each trim if I wasn't going to be putting in sheet metal. And then on the back, we're definitely not doing as well with the air hammer. So I've got all of these heads removed, and I've been trying to punch them out with the air hammer, and I just wasn't getting anywhere. So it has released the outer skin for the most part, at least across the middle it did. On each side I still have a little bit to work on, but basically I'm having to drill these all out. Reason being, I guess they're just too tight in the framework up there. I can't get them to push through. Now it's possible I might be able to take a punch and a sledgehammer and go at it with something a little more controllable than the air hammer. But, I don't know. I'm just drilling. So I'm in the middle of drilling pilot holes out through here, but it's really difficult to get counter pressure against this stuff. I mean, you're pushing against a ladder, and obviously the ladder has a tendency to push away from the bus when I do that, so just having to work on it, and it's a lot of counter pressure, one arm against the other, to try to create enough push on the drill to get it to bite. So anyway, I'm hoping that when I get around to this other side, I won't have to worry about that problem. So I still have this whole side over here to deal with. I started working my way around this corner, but that's all the farther I've gotten on this end. So hopefully these two will punch out really easily when the time comes, and I won't have to drill them all out, because that'll be a real pain. So we'll keep working.